Hey everybody, this is TJR. A recent headline from Elton John has been making the rounds throughout the internet over the last few days, and this particular headline has caught my interest. I'm going to read from the article published by NME, but this article is everywhere right now, and I'm sure you may have read some variation on this. But they all have the same headline pretty much, and that headline reads, Elton John, most records on the charts are not real. Elton John has criticized modern pop music, claiming that proper songs have become too sophisticated for the UK charts. John said he was a big fan of Father John Misty and Conan Gray because they write their own songs. He told BBC Radio 6 Music, "Misty reminds me a little bit of me, the way he writes songs. Conan's from America, and he's the only person in the American Spotify Top 50 to actually write the song without anybody else. Everybody else, there's 4 or 5 writers on a track. You look at most of the records in the charts, they're not real songs. They're bits and pieces, and it's nice to hear someone write a proper song." He continued, "I like people who write songs, and there's plenty of people that do, but a lot of them don't get played on the radio because they're too sophisticated, and we get songs made by a computer all the time, and I'm not interested in that." End quote. So I'm going to break off from the article and say I agree. And this is a topic I have discussed before. With so many of today's hit songs written by the same small group of people, using the same recording software and plugins, the same samples and beats, it's no wonder that it all starts to sound the same, and that it all starts to sound very assembly line. It feels like there are no music surprises within the top end of the charts. And I have to admit, it's interesting to hear Elton speak so boldly about this. I could be wrong, but I'm not used to hearing him speak critically of those within his own industry. He is generally very polite when it comes to talking about other artists and others in the music industry. In fact, the last time I can remember him, and this is within my own memory, by the way, the last time I can remember him being this critical was during the height of all the lip-syncing scandals of the late 80s and early 90s. I remember during his MTV Unplugged performance, he made a reference to the show as being the place where lip-syncers fear to tread. But even then, he never named names, and he still doesn't this time. But then again, he doesn't need to, since most in the industry will already know who he is talking about. I want to add that he does make the distinction that it's radio hits that are dumbed down, and not music in general, stating that there are plenty of great music artists out there that write good songs, but that they just aren't getting on the radio. And in my own opinion, if there is one thing that has dumbed down popular music over the last few decades, it's been terrestrial radio. If you want to get a song on the radio, there are certain things that radio looks for that you need to try your best to adhere to. And unfortunately, sophistication and originality are not part of that. And this is why I abandoned terrestrial radio as a means of music discovery decades ago. This is why, for the most part, I do not rely on the charts to tell me what I should be listening to, because there is no lack of musical talent out there and no lack of great songs being recorded. It just doesn't chart for the most part. And that is why I always, on this channel, try to talk about new releases, try to expose people to new releases that are not getting enough attention. But sadly, it's those videos where I do talk about a new release by a new or lesser known artist that also get the least amount of views on this channel. And that's a whole nother topic that needs its own video to really discuss properly. And while I'm on this topic, I should mention that oftentimes when I am at home watching YouTube videos for my own enjoyment, on a number of occasions, they will run an ad for various different types of songwriting software that generates chord progressions for you to work with. Basically saying that anybody, even if you have no musical experience whatsoever, you don't know how to play an instrument, you can put this software on your computer and you can grab chord progressions, you can arrange them, you can change them around, and you can create your own songs. Now, this type of software has been around for a long time now, and I do sometimes get curious to play around with this type of software from time to time. In fact, I will admit when I first began to use a computer, I actually did play around with some of the loops and samples that came with GarageBand, which is a software from Apple that you get, with your whenever you buy a computer from them. And I did, mess around with these things, but oftentimes I found myself cutting and splicing, maybe slowing one sample down or speeding another one up, and then punching in real instruments and doing things so that it didn't sound so assembly line, so it felt more organic and more real, in my opinion. It's been a long time since I have actually experimented with that sort of thing, and seeing these commercials for all these new software programs out there kind of makes me curious to download it and check it out and just see what I might come up with if I start using it. But at the end of the day, these should be just tools. Unfortunately, too often, these tools get used in place of songwriting and in place of musicianship. And I feel when we do too much of that, we lose something very natural and organic. And because of that, music loses the ability to surprise us. This is TJR. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Please leave a comment. As always, if you like what I'm doing, be sure to click like, click subscribe, and smash that bell notification icon. And if you would like to show additional support, please go to the Patreon page and consider becoming a patron supporter. Patron supporters receive access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content available nowhere else, and early access to selected videos, among other things. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.